in a long distance relationship, and I don't know if it's fun, but a fact about me is my motivation for going to law school was to exclusively advocate for men in family courts.
Oh, look, let's give it. Yeah. So are you a lawyer now?
No. So
Okay.
I'll be studying this year.
What motivated you to do that?
Because I kind of accidentally fell into helping. So I was mainly counselling somebody who was going through a divorce, and they just couldn't afford a lawyer. So I was like, let me just see what I could do. And I was like, I'm actually really good at this. I was combining all of these. I was doing all the legal research and kind of getting everything, like looking at his case and seeing, what can work and what couldn't. And I was just like, I'm really good at this. And then I also saw what's happening in, between the genders, and the relations are really bad. And I just think that, I've spoken to a few men, and the perception that they have of women and the legal system, I don't blame them whatsoever, but the perception that they have of women is that, the whole MGTOW thing, completely just going their own way and excusing women. It's like, that's why I want to actually advocate for men and show them that we're not all like that.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. So in the US, I know if someone gets divorced and they have a kid with a girl, in certain states, they have to pay 25% of their after-tax income per kid. I don't think it's as bad here.
No.
Is it similar or no?
I don't think it's though it can be similar, but I think the thing is, I think the US is a bit more cutthroat.
Yeah.
In terms of English law, we go by case, and there's more of there's a lot more fairness, I think, from what I've seen so far, which is good. Because in America, you have community property states, which are just like completely just cut the assets in the middle. Who cares what happened in the case?
Yeah.
And that's horrible, because some cases are really unique and they deserve attention. But then you have equitable distribution states in America, some states, and which is what you expect of the law, to look at every single case. And the one that I was involved in was an equitable distribution state. So the factors, the ex-wife actually didn't fulfill the factors. So that actually worked in favor of my client.
What does fulfill the factors mean?
So the statutory factors. So he was in the state of Colorado, and in the state of Colorado, you have statutory factors. For example, I don't know how people are going to take this, but it is the factors. For example, if she wants 50%, she will basically get whatever percentage from the assets, compensating for her contribution to the marriage. If she took care of children, there's a percentage. If she gave up things like homemaking, as opposed to his 50%. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So she can. It could be 70, 20.
Yeah,
like that.
No, that's really cool. That's really interesting.
When I found out about the states, I was like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And community property states are really scary. Like California is.
That's the one where I heard this guy was like going to retire, and then he couldn't retire because his wife left him and took the kid to Japan.
What?
Man.
Yeah, and like it's crazy because I guess in some states like the courts are separate, like the courts for like child support and the divorce courts. So when he went to child support, like he could get child support, they would just say, oh, you weren't in the kid's life the last 6 months, but they don't put in the fact that like she wasn't letting him be. Yeah, so it's very, especially in the US. Here I looked up, I think they get like 13 to like 20% ish per kid, if that was correct.
Right.
Is that, I don't know if it's not as cutthroat, I think, as the US from what I learned.
No, but that's generally. But again, they look at each and every case, which is important, because we can't say it's definitely going to go this way. Definitely.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Sorry. That was just interesting. That's why I asked. Okay. So
I was gonna say on a slightly on a tangent but similar topic. Fun fact: like one of my friends who studied in law in the UK, I actually asked him about the topic of like prenups, and I said it must be a good idea, right? You're safeguarding yourself, you're safeguarding each person, then you feel like it's a little bit more comfortable going into the relationship. And I said surely that's like a good way to go, in a trusting way. And he was like, actually, like there are loopholes. Just because you have a prenup does not mean you are going to get away, without compensation. So it might work a little bit better in America, but let's say in the rest of the world, that's not the case. And he's like, if you're smart, especially like people who have wealth from their family, old family, they actually like when their kids get married, they actually like they don't put things or assets under their children's name for a reason, because if the woman tries to divorce the man and try to get the assets, they can't, because it's under the entire family rather than under an individual. So he was saying like there are ways that you can put your sister's name, you can get your brother, so it's like, you know, like it's not yours, it's the family. And so if that's the way that something's named, then you that you can kind of get away with it, but you cannot just say, well, I've got prenup, so this is pre.
Yeah.
And that's scary. That scares me.
It's hard because I'm very pro marriage in like a family sense, but I understand like why guys don't want to get married. You know, it like makes sense, because I'm like, if I could possibly lose this much of my assets, I wouldn't want to get married either. If the roles were reversed.
And what's more terrifying is that you don't even have to get married to get the same treatment. You can't even cohabit. Because it's horrible. You can't even trust.
It's like they legally twist their arm. Like they say, oh, well, you know what? No, then let's not get married. And they say, but if you live with her for this many years, it's like.
I don't know if anyone who's Canadian in the audience who might know, but actually I heard that in Canada, maybe, I might be making this up, but I thought I heard that you don't even have to be married. If you've been living with your partner for a certain amount of years, that automatically that person can try and get money from you.
I mean, it's
I don't know. I don't know if I think that's true, but I might be wrong. So if I'm wrong, please correct me.
Okay. Sorry, I got a little off topic.
Sorry,
it's interesting. That's okay. So today we're talking about, is the bar set low for men? So the reason that I thought of this was because I was like scrolling through my TikTok, and there's this trend going around where it's like girls will say, well, the bar is so low for men, and then, you know, explain. And so I wanted to show you guys a video, Ish, if you want to pull it up. It's basically a compilation of girls when they talk about, you know, how low the bar is, because, you know, between men and women, apparently, you know, women are the ones with the low standards. You know, men just have the high standards.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wait, so I see that. So the girls are saying on social media that they have low standards for men. Is that what they're trying to say?
Sort of. You'll see in a second.
I'm so confused.
Ish is setting
I'm
this
ready
up.
for this one. Let me see what's going on.
Yeah.
All right, Sam's first.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yes,
With
Sam's going for it.
So I guess while we're waiting
gotta
for
represent
while
the
we're
boys.
waiting for Ish to set this up, who do you guys think has higher standards, men or women, just off the bat?
Women, for sure.
Women.
Women, 100%.
From a biological standpoint, definitely the girls.
Women.
women.
Yeah, see this, it's interesting because everyone genuinely agrees here.
Yeah.
I could tell, I was like, this group's going to be based.
I think like I think it's important that like we obviously will be talking about the general trends of things, but then obviously there are outliers,
Specific, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So from a biological standpoint, it makes sense that the girl's more picky because you get pregnant,
You
you're
get pregnant,
you're
yeah,
going to
of
be
course.
9 months. Your body's going to get distorted. By the way, you're never going to be the same, and it's not fun giving birth. So to subject yourself, you really have to, really pick someone. Whereas a guy, you almost can forget about it.
That's why women when they ask questions like, why can't we do the same things as men? Why can't we sleep around the same as men? The answer's right there. You can
Yeah.
get pregnant. It's not complicated. I hate that comparison when women go off on a tangent, but you can do this so we can do this. But you clearly can't because you
It's
can
not
get
even
pregnant.
that, just that. It's also pair bonding too. Like, if you want to be more likely to be successful in marriage, then it's on them to not,
The less partners, the better.
sleep around.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. You want to make it full
Let's have a
screen?
look.
The audience can see it too, right? Okay.
This is going to be interesting.
And then they can see our reaction too. Yeah.
You can see your reaction too.
Yeah.
Sam's ready, guys. It's about to get juicy.
Yes, please. Yeah, go a little to the right, but yeah, that's fine. Then just play it and make it full screen.
Any predictions, Sams?
Do you know what? I'm waiting.
What do you think? Wait. What do we think? What do you think we're about to see?
I reckon you're gonna hear a lot of bullshit right now.
Okay, go ahead.
Delusion,
Yes.
pure delusion.
Let's
That's
do
what
this.
I'm
And then let me
expecting.
know in the chat if you guys can
Tell
hear
me about
it,
the
okay?
time when you realized that the bar is super low for men.
I was less than 24 hours out from having my C-section with my son. The hospital was baby rooms in with you. I was up all night holding him and feeding him because he would not lay in the bassinet. So while I was up with him, while my now ex-husband slept on the couch beside me the whole night. The lights were dim in the morning when my doctor came to check on my incision. And I said, go ahead and turn the lights on. And he said, no, let's let him sleep. I have my cell phone and I can use the flashlight on my cell phone. So my doctor checked my C-section incision with the flashlight on his cell phone as to let my husband continue sleeping.
Tell me about the time when you realized that the bar is super low for men.
So one time I got rejected by this girl after our first date. Like, I thought it went well, but apparently it didn't, because she told me, after I asked her when she was free again, she said, she wasn't into it. And she just wasn't sure if she wanted to see me again. No worries. So I text her, hey, not a problem. I get it. If you change your mind, let me know. You have my number. But if not, good luck out there. And I figured that'd be the end of it. And then, a week or two later, no contact, she hits me up, and I get a second date. Awesome. So we go out, and I figured I'd do better this time, but it was painfully obvious that I wasn't going to get a third date out of this. So toward the end, I just decided to ask her, why did I get the second date if you knew this wasn't for you? And she straight up told me that it was because of the way I handled the rejection after the first date. I didn't freak out. I didn't call her a whore or anything. Simply because I was able to take a no for an answer. We have to do better, guys.
Tell me about the time when you realized that the bar is super low for men.
I was at the club with my friends and we were dancing, having fun, and this guy came up to me and he said, I was looking at you and I thought you were so pretty and I just wanted to come out here and say that and do you want to kiss a little bit? And I said, no, I don't, because I'm here with my friends and I'm just having fun. I'm not interested. And he said, oh, that's all right then. Sorry for bothering you. And he turned around and walked away. I have never found someone more attractive in my entire life. And I said to my friend, I almost want to go after him and kiss him because he was respectful. When I tell you the bar is way down in hell, I'm not kidding. Not kidding.
Tell me about the time when you realized that the bar is super low for men.
I'm finna tell y'all how easy it is to get a female to like you in college. If a girl is interested in you enough to come to your room and chill with you, this is all you gotta do. When she comes to your room, invite her to sit on the bed. You pull out a chair and sit in that motherfucker. Do not go near her. Do not touch her. Just talk with her, chill, and vibe the entire time. Do this the first and maybe the second time y'all hang out, and she'll be so shocked and impressed that you weren't just trying to fuck, that she gonna attack you next time y'all hang out. Mark my words.
Tell me about the time when you realized that the bar is super.
Okay. So, the reason I brought this up is because oftentimes when I have a lot of girls on my show, I always hear stories like this where they just tell me the absolute worst sob story that's ever happened to them in their life. And it just doesn't seem indicative of what I've experienced with men. So why do you think every girl has a sob story when it comes to men?
I'm happy to start. Why do girls have a sob story? Because emotions are actually what's valuable. Because that's why we're alive. Because when we are living, we feel, and when we feel, it actually has some type of meaning. So let's, for example, say something very mundane. do you remember what you ate this breakfast for breakfast this morning? Maybe not, because it was just a regular day. Do you let's say like it was your graduation day. Do you remember what you had for breakfast? Maybe you didn't even eat because you were so nervous. You're going on stage. You're going to get your, so emotions is what makes things stick. You're not going to remember something if it wasn't something exciting. We don't have the brain capacity to remember everything. So our brains are made to process and really hone in on things that they think is important. So whether that is extreme happiness, extreme bliss, extreme ecstasy, to the other extreme of hurt, rejection, pain, trauma, those are the things that we are going to always remember. So it doesn't matter if maybe this girl actually had 100 really good encounters with guys, but she doesn't value them because maybe she's numb to it. And then all it takes is that one time, because maybe she's so traumatized at one point of her life. And so when she does come across someone who validates her perception, which is that men are bad, then she just latches on, and then she gets very angry.
Why don't men do the same thing?
They do the same. It's not a gender thing, because men and women are different in the sense that women are a lot more volatile and they're a lot more outside when it comes to expressing their emotions. The problem with men is that you do feel, and I actually think that men feel more. But
I'm
the
not
problem
talking
is
about feeling more. I'm talking about men, like women demonizing men versus men demonizing women. I'm just curious. Do you guys feel like men and women do it the same? Just going around, yes or no?
No.
No?
Definitely not.
What about
No.
you? No? What about you, Ish? What do
Sorry. What was the question?
Do you think men and women demonize each other the same?
No.
No.
Can I actually say what I actually think maybe why women, I don't know about the men, but I think this is why women are so, why the feminists are so angry.
Okay.
So I'm going to say feminine energy because I believe that we all have a little bit of both. And that's actually a good thing to have. We have both in us. And depending on the right situation, you will lean into one more than the other. I think you see it more in a girl because I guess we're more encouraged to be more masculine these days anyways. Now, I think when girls innately are female feminine energy, they do want to feel cherished. They want to be taken care of. That is like the most pure basic feeling to start with.
Right.
Now, what unfortunately happens is that when girls start maturing, so when they start getting into teenage years, when they start getting awareness of, sexuality in themselves, they also, unfortunately, girls tend to mature quicker than guys. So they outperform them sometimes at school. They're more quicker at focusing and honing into growing up and being a little bit more adulty, whereas guys might take a little bit longer. And it is just what it is. Guys just takes a little bit longer, and that's okay.
So I think I agree, just to cut you off there, I think I agree with the majority of what you're saying, but I think the point that seems to get missed out these days is that you have more feminine energy in us because you're born that way. We have more masculine energy because we're born that way. I think the society now, the problem with society, we're trying to make each other so similar. Even though we're much similar and we're different, we need to appreciate the differences between us. So I don't think there's any benefits to a man being feminine. Even though this is what females are requesting nowadays, I want my guy to be more in touch with his feminine side. There's actually no benefit to it because as a man, you cry. I mean, men cry. It's not like we don't cry, but you cry in front of your girl and see what happens. She's not going to respect you. Now, I've heard Pearl say this multiple times because it's true. What women are actually requesting these days, it's not going to benefit them in a relationship. You don't want a weak man. As soon as you see that your man is weak, you're going to go elsewhere. So I mean,
I agree, and I will. That's a very valid point, and I agree with you as well. And I get where you're coming from. I think just to finish off my point, so from what I said earlier, girls then get pushed, if you can see what I'm saying, get pushed to become very masculine because they feel like, and actually it's from personal experience. My own mother tells me to, they're pushing us to go to college. They're pushing us to go into very masculine, type of trades. And in order to be, I'm in the medical field. So in order to be, look, if you're coming to see me, do you want me to be a woman who doesn't know how to make decisions?
Yeah.
No, you don't want that, right?
Real quick, because it's a very important distinction you just made there, and I don't hear much women say it. It's like you just said that your mother encourages you to be more masculine. What I hear nowadays is as we know on the internet, it's men versus women. Like we don't hear much of examples of your mother encouraging. We hear men make us like this, men make us like this. You've just been honest there and said that my mother made me more masculine. And do you think that, I'm going to say it straight, I think that's a problem, that women are making women become more masculine.
Yeah.
That's an issue. But it's just before I just cut you off, that's an important distinction. It's not the men that's doing that, because we want you to be feminine. Like men want women to be feminine. We don't want you to be masculine. We already got to deal with the dudes that are masculine. We don't want to deal with a masculine female. So it's an issue, I think.
I'm definitely going to agree with you with that, and I'm going to get to the point you made as well. Yeah. So what happens is that then the girls are encouraged to stand up for themselves. Don't wait around and rely on the guy. You've got to be self-sufficient. By the way, that's a good thing, because you actually, if you're going into a relationship, you want a partnership. You would want, so this is how it works. If you ever seen 300, have you?
Why would you? Why would you want a partnership when that's not how it's worked for all of history?
What I meant by partnership, I'll explain a little bit.
Okay.
In 300, Leonidas is the king, and he has his queen. When someone comes to his doorstep and threatens him, literally threatens his whole livelihood, his people, with literally cutting people's heads off, walking up to him and showing violence, his queen stepped up and said, "This is not okay." And the messenger was turning around and saying, "How dare you as a woman speak?" And in the end, when Leonidas then, before he kicked them down the well, he actually said, "You disrespected my queen." And actually what she said as well is, she said, like, only Spartan women can give birth to Spartan men, which are strong men. So what is beautiful about that relationship is that they are not equal in the sense that they don't have the same energy, but we can agree that they're both strong in different ways.
Yeah, but that's not a partnership, because he needs...
Okay, so what I meant is, I'm not saying they're equal.
She needs him more than he needs her.
So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that they're equal in that they give the same thing in, but what they do is that they complement each other and support each other. And the beautiful thing about that relationship is that she's actually very accomplished. So he feels safe walking away and going into war, potentially never coming back. But he knows that his wife is strong. So she can go and she will use her way of doing things to try and help the country.
Can I just say something quick? Is a definition of a partnership 50-50, right? Right. So I think that's the biggest problem for men when we hear partnership, because we think, when we hear 50-50, we think, hold on, so if we got to get into a fight now, it's not 50-50. Because if someone comes to rob us down the street right now, it's not 50-50. I got to deal with 100% of the... I got to deal with him. So when we hear partnership, we think that's cool, because there's certain places where we want women to be feminine. So if we're at a family gathering, you might be more vocal than us. That's fine, because we don't want to talk. So it's like, a partnership doesn't have to be 50-50, in my opinion. You can have a solid relationship without having to be 50-50 all the way. You can be better. Women can be better at some things than men. You're more maternal than us. You can deal with children better than us. We're fine with that. But the problem with women nowadays, in my opinion, is trying to make everything so equal, and it's like, it's just not like that. It's not in us. It's not in our biological. It's not innate at all.
Yeah, and I agree with you with that as well, because I guess I have my definition of partnerships a bit different from you. So when I'm saying a partnership, I didn't mean it has to be 100% 50-50 in every single aspect.
Right, but you're changing the definition of a word.
Okay,
so it's like, that's
sorry.
why, like, our
I do apologize. I'm not trying to.
I'm not offended. I'm just saying, like, that's not what it means. Question for you: what have you seen in divorce court? Do you feel like men and women demonize each other the same? What's your experience with that?
No, I think women are more ready to just demonize the husband. Like, if they're going in the arena of divorce, like, okay, this is happening, they're ready to just cut him out as much, whatever way possible. And I've seen very commonly, the man's like, okay, what's going on? Who is this? Where does this come from? And then he just has to, it's sad. So first initial reaction is he's sad. He's like, okay, this is where it's going. And then he has to just now defend himself, all these accusations. So yeah, and then he might be disgusted, and then he's just retaliating. But she's the one that always starts it.
I'm glad you said that.
I've seen, just saying how it is.
So I'm curious, have you had, I know the majority of divorces are initiated by women. Have you had men initiate divorce?
Yeah, sometimes.
What are the typical reasons that men initiate from what you've seen?
So what I've seen, so sometimes it's adultery, cheating, or she gets to, like, she's trying to take charge in the house and started demanding things. So she doesn't have to, like, especially if she's educated, so she's got a job.
As many of you know, I was just banned on TikTok, and we are demonetized on a daily basis on this platform. If you want to help, please consider sending a super thanks below. Every donation helps, and it helps make what we do possible.